Live from Denver's Cherry Creek neighborhood, this is the Kyle Malnati Show, where multifamily matters. People might say I'm not a complex guy, but I sell apartment complexes. Thanks for joining us today and for tuning in. That song, our bumper music, is an iconic song from the 1970s by an artist named Edwin Starr. That song became very popular as an anti-war protest song, and what we like to use it for today in our show is to talk about how apartment buildings in Denver are getting bidding wars by multiple buyers submitting contracts. A lot of time these contracts are over the list price, and my team, my business partner Greg Johnson and I, have specialized in creating these bidding wars for our clients. Well, we wrote a blog post about this on our website, denverapartmentbuildingsforsale.com. And again, we talked about bidding wars and how war is good in Denver for sellers. After I presented at a multifamily seminar, a client of mine, very respected person, and I appreciated this compliment that he gave to me. He said that our brokerage team is a marketing machine. The truth is that I believe that it's our responsibility as a brokerage company to be amazing, relentless marketers on behalf of our clients. And what that means to me is it means that my goal is to achieve the highest price possible when I am contracted by a seller to list their building for sale. And not only are we looking for the highest price possible, we're looking for that highest price possible from the most qualified buyer in the fastest time frame possible. And we've gotten a great reputation of selling our listings above the list price. And you know, this vlog that we're doing here really comes from these bidding wars, but also from kind of a snarky email that I got from another investor in Denver that said specifically, "As I told you before, I am not interested in a bidding war, so I don't see how I can do business with you." End quote. And that's directly from an email that I received. Someone that was clearly frustrated about the fact that we drive a lot of we drive a lot of interest to our inventory of apartment buildings whenever we list it. And I really take this as a compliment. In a highly competitive market, I simply can't make sense of sellers that want to negotiate directly with a buyer off the market. Don't get me wrong, I mean, the goal is not to get every Peter, Paul, and Mary over at the building, another 70s, 60s reference of music. We don't want to get every single person over to the building just for the sake of having a bunch of warm bodies around. We want to get the most qualified people, and there's a dedicated balance between kind of this feeling of a public auction and this well-designed plan of attack that brings as many qualified, experienced buyers to the table to generate the highest offer possible. Well, we practice what we preach, and I can go over a number of different examples this year where we created bidding wars and elevated the purchase price way over the asking price. And our strategy here is not to underprice a property, but to price it appropriately in the marketplace, right here where the property is priced. If the marketplace is just slightly above it, our goal is to get it right there on the pricing. And then if we get enough interested buyers circling, what will happen is that'll shoot the price well above our listing price. So a good example of this is a building we sold in Cheeseman Park, 27 units, $170,000 over list price. We've never had the level of interest that we had with this property in my career, and that would be something that hopefully I match again. But we did 11 tours from well-qualified investors on the first day, and we received 10 offers. Next example is 70 grand over list price, and that's a building in Congress Park. And what we did is we got multiple offers. We parlayed those multiple offers into this call for offers environment where everybody had to submit their bids before a certain deadline. And like I said before, we got $70,000 over our list price for that investor. $45,000 over our list price. Cheeseman Park again, a smaller building. 5 offers, all at or above our listing price, were presented within the same week. $40,000 over list. Again, Congress Park, a different building. We received 3 competitive offers and went under contract within 2 days. And that building happened to be sold by Greg and I on behalf of a residential realtor. So we have a lot of different clients. That particular client chose to list the building with us because she knew that we dominate central Denver apartment buildings, especially when it comes to 10 to 110 unit apartment buildings. And I've prided myself on becoming the realtor's realtor. I have a lot of clients that are real estate brokers. And so at any rate, the whole point of this information is that if you own an apartment building, if you own any investment, if you own a stick of gum, wouldn't you want to have the highest amount of people that are qualified, that have money to walk in the door and know that you've got that piece of real estate for sale? I would. I can tell you what, if I was a real estate agent and I knew that someone was trying to hide my listing or pocket it and not expose it to the open market, not get competitive bids, I would be really upset. So we try to have a lot of fun here with some statistics about buildings that we sold in 2014. These are all active sales of ours in this article that we wrote on our blog called War, What Is It Good For? And that's a tribute to Edwin Starr's 1970 song, War. I'd like to take a moment to give some inspiration. This is something that we're doing regularly on the Kyle Malnati Show. I've got a quote here from John Maxwell, the heralded author. John Maxwell says, quote, "Successful and unsuccessful people do not vary greatly in their abilities. They vary in their desires to reach their potential." And as you're sitting here listening to this show, hopefully this could be talked about in the frame of the apartment building investment, but what areas of your life do you feel like you've got tons of potential, but maybe you're lacking that desire? Maybe you're in a situation where you say, you know what, I've always wanted to do this or that, but it's kind of just a dream because you don't have that desire behind that. Well, that's where I come in as an apartment broker. A lot of people come to me initially thinking that they're going to buy an apartment building because it'll give them good cash flow and maybe an income source. But the reality of the purpose why people buy apartment buildings is freedom. It's absolutely freedom. Freedom from the man. You don't have to go back to work if you own enough apartment buildings that can sustain your lifestyle. Freedom for retirement. You can retire with dignity. And as I think of that quote by John Maxwell, it all comes down to desire. We can reach our highest potential if we have that desire behind us. And that's really the difference between success and not achieving success. Tying back to this article that we wrote on DenverApartmentBuildingsForSale.com related to bidding wars, our desire for our sellers is to achieve the highest price possible. Because when I'm hired to sell an apartment building, I might be contracted for 6 months, and usually we sell the building before that 6-month listing is over, but it's a fairly small period of time relative to the amount of time that the owner has owned the building. I can think, actually, I was here at Stewart Title yesterday. I feel like I live here in some weeks. I was here yesterday closing a 12-unit center hallway building in West Washington Park. Those owners had bought it in 2001, right after September 11th. And they had owned it for 13 years before selling it. I had only been involved in the building for about 3.5 months from start to finish. And what I'm getting to here is my desire is to achieve the highest price possible for those sellers, because it is their right to have the most qualified person working for them that is going to get them the highest price possible, because my 3 months is a very small period of time compared to their 13 years worth of hard work and effort. And so when you work with someone like myself, a high-octane realtor, that's what I promise to you. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Stewart Title, for providing us the space for our video and podcast. And what we'll do next time is we'll talk about different things in the apartment market that you can do to prepare yourself for 2015. Thanks again for listening and watching the Kyle Malnati Show. We'll see you around the neighborhood in Central Denver.